Good morning, viewers. Today we'll be discussing proportion. Proportion is a mathematical comparison between two numbers. It is divided into direct proportion and indirect proportion. Indirect proportion is also known as inverse proportion. I repeat, proportion is a mathematical comparison between two numbers. It is divided into direct and indirect proportion. Indirect proportion is also known as inverse proportion. Now, we'll be looking at direct proportion as it relates to money problem. We said two quantities are in direct proportion when both quantities increase or decrease at the same rate. Two quantities are in direct proportion when both quantities increase or decrease at the same rate. The key point is when both quantities increase or decrease at the same rate. Take for instance, Joe buys 5 tickets for a total of £206.25. How much will it cost her to buy 7 tickets? So this is the solution. 5 tickets cost this amount. To get a to get the cost of 1 ticket, which is far more better, which is safer. So you need to divide both sides by 5. Once you divide both sides by 5, you get this and you get this, meaning the cost of 1 ticket will be this. This will help enable us to get the cost of 7 tickets. So to get the cost of 7 tickets, you need to multiply it by 7 and you multiply the right hand side by 7 to get this. Therefore, 7 tickets cost this. So I will encourage my learners or viewers to understand how to solve this. This is the most basic way of solving this based on my learners that are struggling to understand this. So I will encourage anyone or any of my viewers, in order to get this right, please follow this basic step and you get your solutions right. Let's move on. So let's crack on this. Let's have a go on this. I will have a go at 1A and encourage my learners to have a go at 1B. As usual, you move on to the answer slides to cross-check your answer. And please, as mentioned in the previous sessions, please do that honestly. So the first question says, 8 identical bottles of water cost this. Work out the cost of 5 of these bottles of water. So 8 bottles, 8 bottles, 8 bottles. Oh, sorry, 8 bottles. I say 8 bottles cost £4.48. We should work out the cost of 5 of these bottles. Remember, we are still on direct proportion as it relates to money problems. So to solve this, we need to find the cost of one bottle. To do that, you divide by 8. So you divide this by 8, you have one bottle is equal to, once you divide this by 8, once you divide this by 8, you have 0.56. And again, I want to encourage my learners that most times questions like this has to do with calculator. This is a typical example of a calculator question. So I will encourage my learners to use the calculator to do this. So we'll look at, if time permits, we'll look at I'm sure we've already looked at how to convert decimals to by multiplying 10, 100, or 1000. We've talked about that in some sessions, maybe consciously, unconsciously, we've talked about that. So I know I'll bring out a session to explain how we'll do that again as time goes on. So to do this, you just divide this by 8 to get this. Then to get the cost of 5, you multiply again by 5. Multiply this by 5. So the cost of 5 bottles, the cost of 5 bottles, multiply here by 5. So the cost of 5 bottles will be £2.80. It's fine. As stated earlier, also, the beauty of maths is we all have different routes. We have different routes, but at the end of the day, we arrive at the same destination, meaning the same destination by the same destination, I mean we'll arrive at the same answer. Because one beauty of human, endeavors or humans is that we think differently. But as a trained teacher, I will encourage my learners to, and we are trained to apply the most basic way of solving problems. This is, to my best of my opinion, that this is the most basic way to solve those problems. But if you feel you have your other ways of solving problems and you arrive at the answer, go ahead, go on with it. But for those struggling, please follow this step. This is a step-by-step guide to solve questions like this. And at the end of the day, you arrive at the right answer. The sky is just your starting point. So as stated earlier, I've tried 1A, so I will encourage my viewers or my learners to please have a go at 1B. Then you move on to the next slide to check your answer. And please do that honestly. So this is correct. Then let's move on. This is another example of direct proportion, but this time around, this is the recipe problem. The previous slides we looked at money problem, but this time we'll be looking at recipe problems. So let's see, worked example. A recipe of biscuit uses 100 grams of butter to make 8 biscuits. How many grams of butter would you need to make 24 biscuits? As usual, you can see the picture example here, 8 biscuits, 8 8 biscuits. It takes 8 biscuits to, it takes 100 grams of butter to make 8 biscuits. So the question says, how many grams of butter would you need to make 24 biscuits? So 24 biscuits. So why this was multiplied straight? Because it's easy to go from 8 to 24. So for you to figure this out, you need to be good with your multiplication table. So in this case, why we did not find, or why the authors of this page did not deem it fit to divide and they get the cost of one and then multiplying to get the cost, or sorry, the quantity of 24. What they did was, because they know to go from 8 to 24 is a lot easier. That is why they multiplied by 3 and multiplied by 3. So it will take 300 grams of butter to make 24 biscuits, because going from 8 to 24, it's a lot easier. But nothing stops us, as usual, to first of all divide by 8 to get the quantity of butter for one biscuit, then multiplying by 24 to get the answer. But this, as stated earlier, you need to be good with your multiplication table. The author of this did this because it's a lot easier moving from 8 to 24, which means you just need to multiply by 3. But the problem is, what if you have numbers such that you cannot easily multiply by them and arrive at their answer? So it's a lot safer to first of all divide by 1, then you can now multiply by whatever quantity you are asked to look for. So let's move on. We'll see some typical examples as it relates to what I mean. So let's look at this now. So as usual, I'll make attempts with question 1, and I'll encourage my learners to make attempts at question 2. So let's see. Here is a list of ingredients to make 10 flapjack. 10 flapjack. Ingredients for 10 flapjack are all listed here. So the question says, work out the amount of each ingredient needed to make 15 flapjack. Each ingredient. So let's say, so for 10 flapjack, you will need 80 gram. You will need 80 gram of road roast. 80 gram of road roast. So to do that, first of all, we need to find for 1, and you can do that by multiplying by 10. You get 1, and you multiply here by 10. You divide here by 10 to get 1, then you divide here by 10 also. So for one flapjack, it would require you to get 8 gram of rolled oats. But you don't stop here, because the question says work out the amount of each ingredient needed to make 15 flapjacks. So the next step is you multiply by 15 and multiply both sides by 15. So this 15 flapjack, you will need 120 gram. So 8 times 15 will be 120. So you will need, for 15 flapjack, you will need 120 gram of road roast. So this should be 120. Then you pick another item, which is butter. So for 10 flapjack, you need 60 gram of butter. As usual, we divide both sides by 10 to get the quantity for one flapjack. Divide this by 10. So for one flapjack, it will take 6 gram of butter. then you multiply by 15. So this is basically your direct proportion. Remember the you said the proportion is said to be direct when both quantities increase and decrease at the same rate. So you multiply this by 15. So for 15 flapjack, you will need 6 times 15. So let's look at it. 15 times 6 should be 90, but let's have a go and check. 6 times 5, 30. That's 0, carry 3. 6 times 1, 6 plus 3, 9. So you will need 19. You will need 19 gram of butter to make 15 flapjack. So the next one is starting and golden syrup. So to do that, for 10 flapjack, you need 30 and golden syrup. Divide both sides by 10 as usual. Remember, this is a direct proportion. So to get 1 flapjack, you will need 3 golden syrup. You don't stop there. You multiply by 15 because the question is requesting us to find what it will cost to make 15 flapjacks. So for 15 flapjacks, you will need 45 m golden syrup. So this will be 45. And this is 90. It's 45. And you need 90 gram of butter. Then we look at the last one. We'll say to make 10, you will need 36 gram of light brown sugar. So to do that, you first of all find for one, so that will be for 1 flapjack, you divide here by 10. You will need 3.6 gram of light brown sugar. You don't stop here as usual. You multiply by 15. So for 15 flapjacks, you multiply here by 15. So 3.6 by 15, you should be having 54 gram. 54 gram. 54 gram of light brown sugar. So I will encourage my learners, once you've completed number 2, you move on to the answer slide to compare your answers. So we've done this. So let's move on and compare our answers honestly. Yeah, so we are correct. Everything is correct. So let's move on to the next slide. This is direct proportion problems as it relates to other examples. We'll call this best buys. This is best buy. In this case, this is the beauty of best buy is it relates to our everyday life. Imagine you walking up to a shop and you see, maybe for instance, you see 2 bottles of Jamaican gooseberry jam. We say 50 one of the bottles is 50 gram and another one is 100 gram. So the question now is, which will you choose to buy? Which will you choose to buy? Which will give you your best value for money? So to do that, you need to find the cost per to get you're going to divide by the price in pence to get the amount per penny. So what they are saying, trying to say is, you need to find the costs of each gram per penny. You need to find the cost of the gram per penny. In doing that, as human, we say we are all social animals. We tend to move towards what favors us. So with the financial meltdown happening all over the world, we'll always go for what will give us the best value for our money. So once you've read this, it's well explanatory, then you choose the one that costs less. You choose the one that has the best value of your money. So I will encourage my learners to have a go at this page, read it. It's self-explanatory. With this, it will help us to look at other questions on the other on in the next slides. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. So we're saying the class, okay, we'll do this together based on what we've talked about on the previous slide. So let's look at this. It said 3 packs of tea bags are available in the supermarket. Pack A, 240 tea bags for this. Pack B, 200 tea bags for that. And pack C. So the question is saying which pack offers the best value of money? Which pack offers the best value for money? So to do this, what we just needed to do is to find how many tea bags will you get per pound. How many tea bags will you get per pound? So to do that, so that would be 240 divided by 5 divided by 5 pounds. So you will get, so once you divide 240 by 5, you should be getting 48 tea bags. 48 tea bags for 1 pound. 48 tea bags for 1 pound. Then to divide this, also you take 200 tea bags divided by 4. 200 divided by 4 is you get 50 tea bag. 50 tea bags for 1 pound. Then this together will be 160 divided by 3. So once you divide 160 divided by 3, you should be having 53.33 tea bags for 1 pound. Approximately, so you should be having 53 tea bags for 1 pound. So the question says, which pack offers the best value of money? Which pack offers for the best value of money? Definitely will I'll always go for pack C because this you get 53 tea bags for 1 pound. So we'll settle for this. Let's move on. See. Now, on the other notes, we'll be looking at the concluding part of the session, which has to do with the indirect proportion. So we say two quantities are indirect proportion when one quantity increases and the other decreases at the same rate. I repeat, two quantities are said to be in indirect proportion when one quantity increases and the other decreases at the same rate. For example, three people can dig a hole in 4 days. How long will it take 6 people to dig the same hole? So this is a common sense question. So imagine if 3 people can dig a hole in 4 days. The question you ask yourself is how long will it take 6 people to dig the same hole? So it's just a common sense question. If 3 people can do that for 4 days, definitely the more people, the lesser time it will take. And if the 3 people can do the job for 4 days, more people will definitely take a lesser time to do that. So let's look at the pictorial way of solving it. Say 3 people will take us 4 days. Remember, this is indirect or inverse proportion where one quantity increases and the other decreases at the same rate. So if 3 people can do a job for 4 days, so we need to know how long will it take one person to do that. So for one person, you divide by 3 to give you 1. But this time around, instead of dividing, you have to multiply because, as I said, this is a common sense question. So definitely, it will take more time for one person to do that. It will take more time for one person to do that. So you multiply by 3 to get 12 days. So, but the question says, how long will it take 6 people to do that? You and I know for 6 people to do that, it will take lesser time. So you multiply by 6 to get 6 people, then you divide by 6. So it will take 2 days for 6 people to do this. So we'll appreciate this more if we look at some questions. So let's look at this. As usual, these are 4 questions. Then I will have a go at the first question, and it relates to, virtually they are all the same. So let's look at the first question. It says, 3 farmers can plant a hedge in 4 days. How long will it take 2 farmers? So let's look at it here. 3 farmers will take 4 days. So we need to calculate how long will it take for one person to do that. To do that, you divide here by 3. So one person, then you multiply this by 3 because this is an indirect proportion. You multiply by 3. For one person, will take 12 days to plant the hedge. But the question is saying, how long will it take 2 farmers? 3 farmers can plant a hedge for 4 days. How long will it take 2 farmers? So to do that, you multiply this by 2. So for 2 farmers, then you divide here by 2. For 2 farmers, it will take 6 days to plant the hedge. Takes 6 days. So I'll encourage my viewers to have a go at question 2, 3, and 4. Once you've completed that, you can flip to the other side, the answer side, to cross check, and please cross check your answer, and please do that honestly. These are the answers. So once you've done that, you cross check your answers, and please do that honestly. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. As usual, this is your regular host, Valentine. See you in another video. Thank you, and thank you very much.